interesting space, which is really the business of feedback. And more importantly, we have established ourselves as the gold standard for independent performance validation and market intelligence across all the capital markets players around equities, fixed income. But for the last 20 years, we've also branched out into obtaining independent market feedback on corporate executive and IR teams. So this is a really important aspect, because feedback is a very important metrics or thing for you to generate, because that allows you to really control the narrative. It allows you to understand your stakeholders, their preferences, their decision-making process, and it really gives you the ability to predict and anticipate the way the markets are moving, and more importantly, the way your stakeholders are thinking. So you can really, engage with them and always be abreast and a few steps ahead of them. So feedback is very important, and we're not only generating feedback from the buy side and sell side on corporate IR and executive management teams, but we keep it as a three-way feedback loop, which means that we're also obtaining feedback from corporates on the quality of the engagement that they have received with the buy side, or from the buy side and from the sell side. And also, as you may know from previous calls, the buy side also engages to provide feedback on the sell side. This feedback is really delivered as a ranking, and those rankings determine who are the best in class in sector or in region or in country. And those rankings have become industry benchmarks. So they are very well integrated into certainly how the sell side are assessing themselves. It's very well integrated into their annual performance review. And we're seeing a lot of corporates, as well as on the buy side, using the institutional investor ranking as an annual way to monitor and track their performance, and more importantly, to track their own performance, but also to look at their performance compared to their peers, which is obviously very critical for corporates in the race for capital, and to remain relevant and visible to the investor community as well. So this is really sort of where we stand. I will share with you also steps in terms of how to participate in the process. But fundamentally, with our research that we're conducting annually across 6 different markets, we're giving you insights, not only qualitative and quantitative insights on the perception of the market of yourself, but how you also compare against your peers. And that makes it very important for you to continually improve and enhance your practices, to understand where you need to allocate more resources, and more importantly, to manage C-suite time very effectively, and maximize their time with targets and investor communities that are relevant, that can really deliver the kind of value on the business strategy longer term as well. And the third element that we're delivering as part of our research is the ability to understand who your counterparts should be on the sell side and on the corporate access. So people that should be covering your stock, that are the best sell side analysts that you should really try and engage and attract to cover your stock. But also from a corporate access standpoint, those teams that really can facilitate access to the right investor and capital pockets, if you like. So it's very important, so you can do and run a very smart, effective, and strategic investor relations program. So these are the 3 elements that we're covering off as part of our research, and it's part of our overall survey process. Now, when we think about the buy side and sell side assessing you as corporates, we look at these metrics that you can see here on the screen. We haven't actually made any changes year on year. So they remain the same since last year. And you can see here, for the results of the CEO to be obtained, the buy-siders and sell-siders have to assess the leadership quality, the communication, and the credibility of the CEO. For the CFO, it's financial stewardship, capital allocation, and communication. For the board of director, which is a new area, we've only introduced that in 2022. And based on the traction, the level of actually participation we have seen in 2022, we have introduced now these 3 metrics here through which the board of directors are being assessed. And we only allow investors and sell-sider to assess this area if they've also had engagement with them. So this is really a caveat that we have introduced to ensure that we only get relevant feedback. The IRO section here is blank because a lot of what IROs are doing is really sitting within the IR program category here that you can see. We segment the IR program into financial disclosure and services and communication. So we look at the quality and the granularity and the consistency of the financial disclosure. And for the services and communication, we look at really the sort of the quality of IRO individuals, how they're actually managing the relationships through the activities that they're organizing, be it the earnings calls, be it the meetings that you're organizing with investors. But importantly as well, and this is really key for the investor community, is the business and market knowledge that you bring to the table. How you are able to contextualize the company within the sector, within the country, potentially obviously giving insights about geopolitical or macroeconomic information that can also help make a case for the company and make the company better understood. Also credibility and authority of the IROs is very, very important, especially when you do IR only roadshows. So being authoritative, being a source of information representing the company is very, very important as well. And then of course we look at ESG, and this is an area it's of constant evolution, to be honest. We've seen a massive interest in ESG during the pandemic, and it's kind of getting to a point where, especially when we think about US investors, it's leveling off a little bit and it's decreasing, in fact, in terms of interest level. I think the conversions on ESG narrative and topics is very difficult in the market. You do find, to a certain degree, misalignment between what corporates are doing on the ESG front with what investors are actually looking for. So we are obviously not going to be covering and reflecting all the complexities of ESG in a survey, but directionally what we want to cover off is your disclosure metrics and the changing disclosure metrics that you've identified. Your ESG engagement, we see a lot of companies that do specific events and specific sort of workshops or investor deep dives specifically on ESG. So this is really important. And then to what extent it's incorporated in your corporate strategy. And then finally, the investor event, which I know is not an area of focus in Romania, but it's certainly an important building block of investor relations programs to provide more access not only to the company but to the individuals that are running the different businesses of the company. Now, in terms of research methodology, it's very, very important. You need to understand that we are engaging a global buy and sell side universe to ask them to participate in our emerging EMEA executive team survey. All of the individuals are pre-vetted and pre-qualified, so they have to be invested in the region. They have to, from a sell side point of view, they have to be covering your stock over the last 12 to 18 months. So these are criteria that need to be met for them to be actually allowed to participate in our research survey. And that makes sure that only relevant people to your stock, to your engagement, are actually canvassed as part of this research process. Very important is that the research and the submission of the evaluation happens completely unprompted. So only companies that really stand out, that differentiate themselves, from the rest of the, corporate universe are effectively being ranked and rated as part of the process. So it's up to the buy side and sell side, and I will show you on the voting platform in a second how this looks like, to determine who are the companies that really stand out to them, and they proceed to assess them. There is no weighting on buy side and sell side, so each voter has an equal vote. And each of the areas that we've just discussed and looked through are being rated from 1 to 5. 1 is average and 5 is excellent. So there's also no weighting on the individual metrics. So each metrics, whether it's the CEO or your investor event, has an equal weighting on the results effectively. So there are 3 parts that we are asking you to please do. Verify the contact details of your company, complete the trends IR trends survey and rank the buy side and sell side, please. Through the survey, you will receive the aggregated results from that. So you will have a free report that allows you to benchmark your activities. And the final step is for you to submit your top buy and sell side contacts. In terms of timelines, we would like you to complete the corporate process by the 29th of March. The lists for the buy side and sell side, we would like you to submit by the 15th of March. And the survey with the buy side and sell side will start on the 2nd of April and will go on until the 26th of April. And during that time, we encourage you, of course, using this banner here to include in your signature banner, in your signature email signature, to really promote and encourage your buy side and sell side contacts to participate in the survey, because again, it's really important for you to receive that feedback and to receive that feedback independently, as open and candid as possible. So the feedback that we are getting now from the corporate survey, which I asked you please to complete, and there are quite a lot of questions, this is the type of information that we're able to share with you off the back of it. So what you can see here are information around investor relations team sizes. What you see here highlighted in turquoise reflects the feedback that we have received from Romanian companies. And what you see here in gray are basically the averages across all of the emerging EMEA countries. So you can already understand exactly, where the trends are, where the comparatives are, and what you need to benchmark against, and how you can actually optimize, enhance, and further resource your function. So you can see here information around investor relation team sizes, in terms of compensation, in terms of budgets. But I wanted to highlight, to also bring in Alina in this as well, is the interaction with the buy side. So we can see here that, we see executive team interaction with the buy side. We see also, the number of meetings that Romanian companies are doing compared to their emerging EMEA peers. So these are one-on-one meetings. You can see here the huge discrepancy in terms of number of meetings and number of conferences that are being attended, or events that are organized by the sell side, whether these are reverse roadshows, site visits, conferences, all of that. You can see here already huge discrepancy between the number of sell-side sponsored events in Romania versus what we're seeing in emerging EMEA. You can also see here in terms of company events that are being organized, whether these are earnings calls, whether these are investor events, whether these are fireside chats, deep dives, anything really. So you can see really in terms of a distribution of engagement and interaction that Romanian IR tends to be obviously on the lower rate. And the last year, I know the last few years have actually been really, really difficult, but it's important really to continue to persevere on this. What is interesting is that we're seeing great level of engagement with Romanian C-suite compared to other markets. So again, we're seeing 51% attendance in terms of one-on-one meetings by the CEO, 44% attendance in one-on-one meetings as well for the CFO. So we're seeing actually in terms of C-suite engagement, a really high level here as well, which is very encouraging. And it's really, really important to reassure the market and reassure investors as well. So I just wanted to share these kind of statistics with you, so you also have a little bit of background information with respect to buy-side engagement. What we're seeing here is, for instance, the sell-side coverage. So this is an area of growth, that's for sure. We're seeing too little sell-side are covering individual stocks. So this is an area of growth, and a sell-side strategy needs to be put in place to accommodate that kind of multiplier effect that the sell-side also has. We're also seeing that corporate access functions have become very, very important generally in investor relations teams. These are the people that basically do the market intelligence, the targeting, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to pause here and bring Alina in here, and just wanted to ask you and looking specifically at your results now. So you can see here OMV's results year on year tracking, and I hope you don't mind me sharing that because these are very, very strong results. And these are Romanian specific results, so benchmark against Romania. You can see here very, very strong performance. So what you can see here are the rankings that OMV has achieved. What you can see here is the market score. This is the market penetration level. So really the market share that OMV has with respect to those individual areas compared to their peers. I want to just get your sense from you, Alina, and congratulations on the consistency in your performance with the capital markets. But how do you see and perceive market engagement and the function of investor relations, and why do you think it's important?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for invitation. Happy to share, happy to be here. We value very much the interaction with the capital markets because it gives us an external perspective that always helps us to improve. So I would say for us, it's not like an obligation that we need to do this activity because, of course, we have listed shares, but it's a great opportunity to improve. And I will continue by saying, okay, every meeting we have is ending with a question from our side to the respective investor, asking how can we improve, what shall we do in order for you to buy more of our shares. And this is very, very insightful because you see perspectives, and I have to admit, although we do this every time, we still get new things. Sometimes it's about disclosure. Many times it's about disclosure. Sometimes about unclarity of different parts of our business. And for a company like ours, being one of the biggest in Romania, but also having activities in 3 business segments, quite complex, with a lot of changes. One of the biggest challenges is to explain this in a simple, structured way. Yeah? And we do a lot of preparation for that. We have a great IR team working with us, top management, in how we can present in a succinct, concrete, best way in a 20 minutes presentation our story. We still have questions and areas which are unclear. So I would summarize by saying it's very valuable for us, this relationship. We are also not just providing information, but listening to feedback. I strongly believe feedback is a gift you receive when you get honest and real feedback, and capital market gives you real feedback. That's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you for that. And you mentioned something that is very, very important, of course. I mean, the visibility of OMV Petrom in Romania, you're obviously benefiting from having, already a very, strong brand and market penetration. What would you advise other companies and IR teams specifically to basically increase their level of exposure? What are the means or methods or platforms or engagement strategies that you have in place to allow them to create more, visibility for themselves?
Yes. What we do is at the beginning of every year, we do a strategy around IR. What are we planning to do? How many events? Who are our targets? And from time to time, not every year, it can be done a targeting study as well, and thinking really, okay, who are the targets, where we should go and focus, and so on. We do this from time to time, and always at the beginning of every year, we have very structured thinking. Okay, where do we go? Which events are with top management? Which events are with IR only? So it's a very intentional approach towards capital market, with a lot of thinking behind, and that's absolutely necessary. Not just waiting for things to come, but be strategic, prioritize what you want to do, and then act on it.
Absolutely. So it's being proactive. It's taking control of the kind of ownership that you're also looking for. Now, in terms of just going a little bit more detail, because I do like for companies to also come away with very specific takeaways from that. The strategy, the investor relations strategy that you're putting in place, are you using tools to help you identify potential investors? What are the kind of services or tools that you're using to help you with that strategy and with the plan? If you can perhaps just give us some idea about that as well.
Yes, I mean, in terms of we have a very experienced IR team. I would say that's fundamental to have an internal team where which understands the market very well. But we also do a targeting study. This is a study which identifies, and this we do with a third party. It's a study which identifies who are our potential investors. And where we should focus. And for us, for example, we concluded based on this study, we should focus on Europe and North America. We should go how many times we should go. Shall we go virtual or physical? I mean, it's a study which gives us an external perspective on the best approach we could take in order to address the potential investors. Now we concluded that we need to go with a mixed approach with a lot of virtual meetings, but not only virtual meetings. Now physical presence from time to time is required, and you can see that investors appreciate seeing the management like in old days and talking directly at least once per year. So we do a combination. We know exactly the areas to focus, yeah, this will be like the main. Also, we do a lot of work on how we can convey our investment proposition. That's also something which we work a lot on.
Fantastic. You've mentioned your excellent investor relations team. And I wanted to ask you, because obviously ARIR is also primarily focused on professionalizing the role of investor relations and developing the skill set and providing the professional development within the space. What in your eyes, and also from your experience with your team, is the right kind of mix to have in terms of qualities, background, and skill set? Because obviously we've seen that over the years, however long the market has been doing investor relations actually evolved quite significantly. So perhaps you can give us some thoughts about that as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it's not easy to answer, and I don't think it's a standard profile.
Yeah.
It requires a combination of skills and a strong understanding of how the capital markets is functioning and working. It's very helpful, but you also need to understand the industry you are in and KPIs and financials of the respective companies. So we have a very strong team from this perspective, understanding very well the numbers, the correlations, the models, so all this side, but also understanding perspective of investors and the modeling, simplified modeling of an analyst. It's absolutely essential. And then, of course, all the soft part, which is about how to get a company, and a big company with a lot of stakeholders, how to get the information from that company in a simple way to be able to be explained to an analyst or an investor. So it's a very, very demanding role in a company. Not easy to find resources, and I'm really, really proud of my team in this respect. I would also say that from CFO to IR team, I spend a lot of time with IR team. We have meetings every week now, because for me it's very helpful. I mean, they explain to me and give me information about how the market sees us, as they interact with the capital markets much more than I do, which is very helpful in thinking from a strategic point of view where we should go and how we should better present ourselves.
You've just answered a question I was going to ask you about the interaction that you have with investor relations team members, and you've already answered that. You said that you're meeting with them weekly, and I think that is also very reflective of the importance that you assign to the role, and the importance that actually the information that you're able to gain from investor relations being the bridge, obviously, between the market and the company. And we're seeing a lot more change with that respect, specifically also a lot of heads of IR attending board meetings and presenting on key sentiment and feedback to the board directly as well, specifically on areas, obviously, as they're overseeing the company strategy in terms of ESG and governance related topics. So it's great to hear that, you know, that you have that level of interaction with IR. And I hope this is true for a lot of Romanian companies too.
Indeed.
I wanted to finally wrap up and just understand, because you obviously work very strategically and very deliberate around, you know, creating an investor relations program that is proactive, that takes control of their own narrative, and that really uses feedback to drive, you know, and shape your market engagement. What are the things that you are now looking at currently to continue to optimize and to give more access to C-suite, to your company, and more transparency? What are the, you know, other things that you're considering now for this year and maybe for the next few years?
Yes, it is indeed a continuous effort of improvement, and we collected the feedback received in the recent period, and we have a clear overview of areas where we could improve, and we started working on them, and some topics are around the strategy, some others are around the dividend policy, where we got feedback we should be more clear on some elements. So all these are being clearly identified. We discussed them not only myself with IR, but also with Christina, our CEO. So we had a clear discussion, okay, on where we can, what we shall do. And yeah, we are working for the next few months on how to improve our capital markets presentation and what to bring in addition in order to address these concerns. And of course, I have to also say it's not always possible to address all the requirements, which is very much understandable from the investor side when we explain why. For example, in our case, we have some limitations which are coming from competition law. We cannot disclose some of the topics due to this, and you just need to be very open and honest about it, and it is understood. I can only recommend an honest conversation with capital markets. It's so powerful because you increase the trust level, and they see that, okay, you really care about them and just want them to understand your limitations as well. So not like everything which is requesting will be done, but we try to address most of the topics in the best way. And if something is not possible, we explain why that is not possible.
Yeah, very good. And are you looking at hosting investor events of some sort, or potentially also we're looking at AI being a very big topic now for investor relations? Are these also subjects that are impacting your IR work? And if so, how are you already adopting that?
On the, of course, we have our quarterly calls, but in addition to that, from time to time, we do some capital markets calls as well. For example, we did when we had the final investment decision for Neptune. It's our big project in Black Sea. Because we knew there is a lot of interest, so we said, okay, let's do an event to explain that very well. Very good feedback received. We had another one when we launched our strategy. So from time to time, we do that as well. Not that much on AI. We are still working internally to really figure out how to get to the best benefits out of that. So that is not so much on our agenda when it comes to IR. But I'm sure will be in the future. That's we are just at the beginning of opportunities when it comes to AI.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time, Alina, on this and the insights that you've shared. And again, congratulations on being so consistent. I think, it is very clear why the investor audience appreciates what you're doing, with that level of insights and appreciation of the function, and open and honest and trustworthy communication, and getting that feedback is really quite key in terms of driving your interaction and engagement with markets. So I have no more questions unless there are any questions from the audience, whether for our research and the research process and survey, or to Alina directly. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you. I see a hand raised from Daniela.
Yes, thank you, Amani and Alina. It was a pleasure listening to you both. I have a question related to KPIs, because in some cases we do search for KPIs for measuring the success of our IR program. What are the internal KPIs you are looking at that you can share, of course?
Yes. Of course, we look at that's a great question, and it's not so easy always to determine a good KPI for your IR function. Probably the most obvious, which many times reflects the value of IR, but sometimes not necessarily, is of course the share price and the target price. So we monitor evolution of the share price like every company, and also evolution of the target price, because many times the work of IR is around target price, increasing the target price of the analyst. So that I would see the best, but also of course all the even the study that you are doing, and the appreciation of the capital markets through the nominations, it represents a very important signal for us that we have a great IR team. That's very helpful as well.
And I just think adding to that is it's really important. I think we as a business are obviously naturally encouraging people to not look at the share price performance for IR, because it is obviously naturally impacted by so many other external factors. But that's why we are in the space that we're in. And I mean, I don't know if you can still see the screen, but we have the ability to tap into, pain points of investor relations and executive management engagement, and to be able to really extract actionable insights that help you really monitor the performance year on year, and really craft a strategy around those kind of if you like, building blocks or opportunities, and at the same time also get that validation that certain things that you're doing are actually working really, really well, which is also important. So and I think this is why as a business we are not really seen by buy side and sell side as a third party provider, but we're really integral to their annual performance review. And this is something that is happening on the corporates with a huge growth now, that they come to the institutional investor results to basically be able to monitor that, because it's completely independent and it's objective, and it's not taking the financial performance of the company into account, but actually the quality and the effectiveness of investor relations and the executive management team. And we've seen many companies that actually had share price crashes, profit warnings, but they did really well in our survey results because they increased their level of engagement and activity during those tough times, and that paid off for them. So and that's why it's an important measure of the quality of IR, and not so much on the financial performance of the company.
I fully agree with you, and especially in countries like ours with a lot of volatility, countries and industry with a lot of volatility, you can have a change in legislation which would impact clearly the share price without any input from IR at all. And indeed, so that's why I said it's the dimension which we monitor, but clearly these external views are much more objective when it comes to the quality of IR.
Thank you. I would also encourage some other colleagues if they have questions. I also have seen in your annual reports that you report some details on the activity of IR, like number of meetings and so on. So I know that you move the average up, but out of curiosity, on average, how the number yearly number of meetings evolved in the past years?
Indeed, we go slightly up. I mean, in 2023, we had 11 events. Out of the 11 events, we had 4 non-deal roadshows and 7 brokers conferences. And then 6 out of 11 were with top management, either myself or Christina or both of us many times. So that is, and then in 2024, we planned 12 events. That's the plan, 4 non-deal roadshows and the rest broker conferences. So we go, it's always a challenge, of course, especially with when it comes to the time from the top management. But being on top of our agenda, we make time to attend, and even physical meetings. Clearly, when it comes to virtual, is not a problem. Physical, sometimes it's a bit harder.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe last thoughts, Amani, on the timeline. So when you mentioned the beginning of April, so what's next in the whole process?
So as I mentioned, you should have all now received an email. If not, please reach out to me. Happy to guide you through the process. And this email is outlining exactly what the next steps are. So you have the corporate roster where you verify your contact details. Please complete this. Then the investor relations trend survey, the corporate insight survey, where you also rank buy side and sell side. And again, this part is important because we then send you the consolidated aggregated report to you, and you can use this in your own kind of benchmark planning and analysis. And then please send us your buy side and sell side top contacts by the 15th of March. The actual survey will then commence on the 2nd of April, at which point we will then share the signature banner and all of the kind of if you like promotional components and collateral that may help you in just increasing the awareness of the survey. I want to say that the companies in Romania that have been nominated over the years, we started off, I think, in our first year probably with 12 companies, then it went down to 8 companies. In 2023, we had 4 companies that were nominated in Romania. So I do encourage to take the insights and the ideas and the really strategic thinking around investor relations to heart that Alina has outlined so diligently, and really think about investor relations and be very proactive, be very deliberate and very strategic around investor relations, so you can actually increase your visibility and your presence with the investor community. Again, if you think about how many companies a typical buy-side analyst covers, you're looking probably at 80 or 100. So you want to make sure that the activities and the communications that you're bringing to market, that they stand out, that they represent the company in the most transparent and consistent way, and be proactive in your engagement. I think, these are sort of the things, and already what Alina mentioned, 12 engagements for next year for sure. So again, increase the level of frequency, interact with the sell side, proactively target sell side as well to increase your coverage is very important. And we can help you with actually identify who those sell siders are that you should be engaging with, because that's obviously important as well as a multiplier effect. So, but yeah, any help, any assistance that you need, we're happy to help. And ARIR will then also share this presentation, so you have that as well as a reference to hand too.
Yes, thank you very much, Amani, for the insights and the partnership and the evaluation of our markets, and also benchmarking with the peers, because it's also a challenge, to ask for more budgets, but we need to look up and to see what other bigger markets are doing. And I would like to also thank you and congratulate Alina and Adriana for excellent implication, involvement, and support on sharing all these insights.
Thank you very much from our side as well.
So we'll see each other, hopefully, Amani, in Bucharest, if not remotely at our gala in November. We are now, you know, handling around the November 20th for this year. We had 5-year celebration last year, as you know. We will have 6 years celebration next year, and you are an excellent partner so far. And during that event, we will be sharing the results for Romania. Our goal and aim is to have more Romanian companies nominated. First of all, we were also involved in promoting the study among local institutional investors. So very important to onboard also local institutional investors if you are meeting them. So it's not only foreign, but it's institutional investors and also sell-side analysts. Why not? To help build a relevant stakeholders list for Romania, and also for them to see how others nominate. Just a final question, Amani. I remember back in times we discussed about like voting the best investor, right? You were doing this as well, like the vice versa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's
sure
something that the
possible.
corporates that's exactly what the corporates are doing as part of the corporate survey. When they're completing the trends questions, they're also ranking the buy side and they're ranking the sell side across different metrics, and the top performing sell side analyst as well. So they have the ability, sort of the corporates, to give that feedback back, and we publish those results as well.
Yeah, so maybe for the next year, I mean for this year, we could in case we have some relevant results to pull out that questions, because this is also very helpful to understand from the investor side, from the sell side also the involvement. So I think would be like an add-on because we are always looking for new categories.
Absolutely. We have both. Yeah, definitely.
Super. If there are no other questions at this moment, I would thank everyone, as we are used at ARIR to finish right on time, so not more delays. So it's 2:58 Romanian time. Thank you very much once again, dear ladies. Apparently we have a lot of ladies, but I see also Remus from BVB, Tudor, and you know, ARIR is not just. I mean, we have diversity. But I are all we can see Vlad from Banca Transilvania. So, but we see a predominance from the female part. Thank you very much once again. Have a nice weekend, all of you, and thank you, Alina, Amani, Adriana, for your time and valuable insights. And all of our members, we are meeting on Monday to discuss our monthly priorities, and we have a lot of them, so we'll be sharing the agenda for Monday. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye bye.